That's 1 seed versus 1 seed. Bontemps will be there. We'll be talking about that later. All right. Speaking about the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, as we sit here today, Milwaukee Bucks now have a 2-game lead over the Sixers and the Celtics. And the worry about being caught is really no longer maybe with the Celtics, because the Sixers have won 8 in a row. They've been out west handling their business, while Boston has been out west not handling their business. Boston is 4-5 in their last 9. They absolutely eked out by the skin of their teeth a win in Minnesota. Then they went to Utah on Saturday, and they blew a 19-point lead. Now, most of the lead was early in the game. They blew most of the lead before the half, but this has been a calling card throughout the last month of the season that they have blown leads. They have multiple overtime losses during this stretch. And there's been some guys in and out of the lineup, but let's be fair, almost every team's got guys in and out of the lineup. The end of this game, first off, Derek White, who has been the one guy who's been playing better for them lately, didn't play in the fourth quarter, which some Celtics fans were questioning that decision. Jaylen Brown was not a factor at all as they were trying like crazy to get baskets against the Jazz. Was not a factor at all down the stretch. And then the last play of the game was designed for Jayson Tatum, who never left the backcourt. The ball was being inbound on the side. Jayson Tatum never left the backcourt because instead Grant Williams made a read, and Grant Williams ended up with the ball going to the basket on Walker Kessler. And
that's not going to work out well.
Walker Kessler rejected it and the Jazz won the game.
Yeah, I mean, to be slightly fair to Grant, the Celtics run a variation of the same general play many times late in games. Will Hardy, who was with Boston last year, had a pretty good sense of what they were doing. They also were doubling Jayson Tatum the whole game, and they had Lauri Markkanen basically stand between Jayson Tatum and Grant Williams at the 3-point line. So Grant made a read and had a 3-on-2. I think what I would have probably suggested to Grant was to pull up from like 10 feet and take a wide open 10-footer instead of trying to drive into Walker Kessler's chest. That probably wasn't the best choice.
They forced the ball to Grant, and that's on the Celtics for allowing that to happen.
Well, Grant Williams score damn near half their points in the fourth quarter.
He had 23 points and he caught the ball wide open at the elbow. Like I'm not going to say they lost the game or that like it was some disaster that Malcolm Brogdon threw him the ball and he was wide open there.
Fourth quarter scoring.
They didn't lose the game on that play. I understand.
Fourth quarter scoring, Grant Williams 12, Jayson Tatum 0.
How much Jaylen Brown have? Because I don't think he had.
Jaylen Brown had 3. So Brown was 1 of 2 from the floor in the fourth. Tatum was 0 of 3, and Williams was 4 of 8. All 4 were threes.
Now you tell me whether you think that's functional basketball or not.
I would like to maybe have Tatum and Brown, getting shots up and was also creating offense.
Yeah, I mean, Will Hardy was basically leaving Grant Williams wide open. It was a lot like Game 7 against the Bucks last year. It worked out pretty well, and Grant Williams shot in that game, and they won.
It sure did, and it hasn't been that way since. I think it just comes down to look.
That's also not true, but sure.
You think Grant Williams is having a good year?
I think he's been perfectly fine. He's shooting the ball perfectly fine. He's shooting.
We're going to step back from the Grant Williams.
Shooting 41% from 3. I think he's been fine.
I think
when was Tatum's last bucket in this game? He didn't score in the second half.
I don't think he had a basket in the second half.
Well, you want to talk about the issues for the Celtics?
No, he was scoreless in the second half. I'm looking at the second half box right now.
You want to talk about people not playing well? Here are the issues for the Celtics. Since the All-Star break, Jayson Tatum is shooting 42% from the field and 29% from 3 on 10 attempts a game. You want to talk about why the Celtics aren't playing well since the All-Star break? That's why.
Yeah, and honestly, this is one reason why I don't necessarily put the Celtics in that upper tier category. Jayson Tatum is a hell of a player. He is a second-tier superstar. He is not he might end up on MVP ballots, but he's not a real MVP candidate. He is not near the level of Joel Embiid. He's not near the level of Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's become more and more reliant on the 3-point shot, and 4 straight years, the volume's gone up and the percentage has gone down.
Well, as Bontemps has said, that's what Joe Mazzulla wants.
I understand, but
Well, look,
Right,
my point
Bontemps,
is,
like-
well, that is true, but my point is Jayson Tatum was in the 3-point contest. He's seen as this great 3-point shooter. And over the past 2 years, he's shooting 35% on very high volume. That's not a great 3-point shooter. That's an average shooter who's taken a lot of shots. So now I haven't studied how hard the shots are. Maybe he's taking more difficult attempts than normal people. I'm not saying Jayson Tatum can't shoot the ball. He's obviously got a nice shot, but it's not like he's hitting 40% of his threes on a high volume.
He hit 40% of his threes in 1920, and then 38.6, 35.3.
1920, my God, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, 4 straight years. 40.3, 38.6, which is still really damn good. 35.3 last year, 34.5 this year. 34.5 on 9.4 attempts is not good. That's not good offense.
Yeah, I mean, since the All-Star break, Jaylen Brown shooting 50% from the field, 38 from 3. He's outscoring Tatum per game. He's been much, much better. Tatum has just not been very good. And again, like, obviously there's other issues with the Celtics. I mean, yesterday, Al Horford didn't play. Robert Williams didn't play. Marcus Smart didn't play. They had Luke Cornett out there in the final minutes of the game. I mean, obviously it was not their number one lineup. That being said, they did blow another lead. They are, as we've talked about, a very jump shooting, 3-point reliant team. If their shot goes away, they get themselves in some trouble. And again, like, since the All-Star break, over 12 games, Jayson Tatum's been bad by his standards. And so it's not surprising that the Celtics have struggled a little bit. What's made it more difficult for them is that because Philly has been so good against the toughest schedule in the league, people in Boston are so focused on, well, can they catch the Bucks? Like, they've now been caught by Philly.
Yeah.
I would assume the Sixers are going to finish in third because they do have a very tough schedule and they're probably going to lose some more games down the stretch. But
the Sixers have to go to the West Coast. Yeah, they've been on this long sort of East road trip. Now they have to, because they're
the Sixers have basically 3 home games the entire month of March, and they've managed to navigate it well so far. They got to go through this final stretch here. But the irony of all of this is that 2 of the oldest rivals in the league are the Celtics and the Sixers, and the fact that the Celtics have been scuffling the way that they have has only bolstered the big fella's MVP candidacy in Philly, because he is kicking ass. They're winning every game. They've now caught Boston when people didn't think that was possible.
Yeah.
After the All-Star break, people were thinking, well, maybe they'll fall to 4th and fall out of that 2-3 part of the bracket. And now they're, we'll see what happens with Milwaukee tonight. I think, we'll see what happens with Milwaukee tonight. They could be 1 loss behind the Bucks, who they play in a week, and they have caught up to the Celtics.
Well, they've caught the Celtics.
Turnaround.
And as far as the MVP stuff goes, I think it's relevant that they now have a better record than the Nuggets. So, I mean, it's full steam ahead on the Joel Embiid MVP bandwagon. I know Wendy's been, driving that thing and pulling the little, the chucker horn and all that stuff. And now there's a bunch of people jumping on that bandwagon.
Well, and by the way, since the All-Star break, 12 games, scoring 35 a game, 58% from the field, 35 from 3, shooting 13 foul shots a game at 85%, 10 rebounds, 4.5 assists, and 2.5 blocks a game. That is pretty damn good from the big fella.
By the way, the Celtics finished this Western trip Tuesday in Sac. So that is an opportunity for them to potentially get a win that could pivot where they're at. And then they have a little bit more of a fortunate schedule when they come home. The Pacers, who are missing Halliburton, and I don't think he's going to be back for that. Then the Spurs, and then they go to the Wizards. So then they have that game that you mentioned against the Bucks, that big game against the Bucks in Milwaukee. But, they have an opportunity here to pivot. And the Celtics have won a lot of terrific games this year. Their resume is very good. For most of the year, they've been a great road team. But
that's also why I'm not going to ding them in the same way. I'm not dinging them like these other teams out West, because they have proven over large stretches of the season that they are an elite team. I mean, I think they're allowed to have a couple weeks and not have them drop.
Well, hold on.
Levels.
What? Hold on. So Boston is and Denver's not?
Boston made the finals last year and improved in the offseason, has not been healthy. Denver has been basically pristine health all season and has.
Well, they've had a little But yeah, their stars.
Very little. Their guys have been available. They have not proven it in the same way as the Celtics. And all of their flaws that people have been worried about all season have been exposed during this recent stretch. So
the team that's had the great health all year is Sac.
Yeah.
Sac has had, not to jinx them, but Sac has had.
I was going to say, way to go, Wendy. Jesus.
I just jinx everybody. I think part of it is I talk a lot about the NBA, so I hit a huge swath and somebody's going to have bad luck. But Sac has had very little impact.
Look, to go back to Denver for a second, games played. Nikola Jokic, as of today, 63. Jamal Murray, 57. Michael Porter, 54. Aaron Gordon, 59. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, 68. Their guys have been available for large stretches of the season, far more than Boston's, for example, who's basically
Tatum's
never
played
been
almost every.
Year.
I think Tatum's played every game or close to every game.
Tatum and Brown have been healthy, and basically every other guy on the team has missed a large chunk of time.
Other than when Tatum took a personal day for his son's birthday party, but I mean, granted, he's played just about every other game.
Their starting lineup has played less than 100 minutes this season together, without Horford and Robert Williams and Marcus Smart.
But that's because Robert Williams has been out so much.
Well, yes, he's been out. Marcus Smart missed several weeks. Al Horford's sat a bunch of. He's sat half of every back-to-back and missed.
But they've had one guy. Well, Smart has been pretty dinged up.
Yes, anyway, they've had lots of injuries. That's my point. They've had lots of.
I think if you're looking at the Celtics, I think what you're questioning is the blown leads, the late game situations, and the head coach.
Well, and just like the reliance on the 3-point shot to the point of extremes. It's like the Harden Rockets, the Harden D'Antoni Rockets, where they had a lot of success with the 3-point shots, but then you missed 27 straight in a game 7, and what other tools do you have in the toolkit? And what's crazy is they've got 2 wings who, Tatum especially can create. I just would like to see him shift a little bit more back into that than just jacking up as many threes as possible. At mediocre efficiency.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus.